There is one obvious miracle in the story this morning, but I'm going to make a case for two miracles. The first one, like I said, pretty obvious. Bartimaeus, a blind man, has his sight restored during an encounter with Jesus. How, we don't really know. We can guess. There's probably some science involved. But the speculation of this particular miracle could take all of our lifetimes and then some combined for us to really understand. The second miracle, however, does require some speculation, but it is through the lived experience of many disciples that we also can understand it. It is a miracle of faith. You might wonder how faith is a miracle, because we're all called to be faithful, to have faith and to exercise faith on a regular basis as disciples. And something so seemingly common surely can't really be a miracle. Faith is as much a miracle as mercy. And mercy is at the root of all healing and connection. An exercised faith, especially in certain circumstances, is most definitely a miracle. This concept came up earlier this week when I was sitting with a group of a certain Bible study, and we were discussing the exercise of faith. The group was wondering aloud together about how the exercise of faith changes our ability to show persistence despite human hardship. And the pivotal realization for us was that faith was actually an exercise rather than a feeling. We acknowledged that faith was really a response to the reality of God's love that we experience through relationships, often formed through the body of a faithful community. And many of those involved in this conversation mentioned their experiences of faith exercised, and that specific exercise and how it had formed them, especially through particularly hard seasons of life. Seasons of life when they needed mercy. Like Bartimaeus, they desperately needed to be seen and heard. They needed someone to stop and attend to them despite the intense whir of busyness that controls most of our lives. The momentum that carries us from one day to the next, from one meeting or appointment to the next, can reach such high levels that halting that momentum, even for good, is a miracle. It is a miracle rooted in mercy. Jesus and his followers, that huge crowd, they were on the go. And you know the feeling. You know that momentum. They were on to the next event. They were trying to keep time. They were managing a schedule with many moving different pieces. And it took a miracle of faith to halt the mass moving out of Jericho. And there was obvious resistance, kind of like the resistance that we feel when we're trying to stop ourselves and experience something that is not part of the schedule. When Bartimaeus cried out to Jesus, the mass ordered him to be quiet, caught up and trying to keep going, keep moving. But the faith of Bartimaeus that he had been created for a fuller life, and the faith of Jesus in his call to show mercy halted the entire horde of followers. It was quite the exercise, a miraculous exercise of faith to stop this crowd and bring Jesus and Bartimaeus together. What happened next is nothing short of a miracle. Yes, a miracle because sight was restored for sure. But it was also a miracle because two people, two strangers, deeply connected. Deep mercy was felt for a stranger. There was hope for a connection before any words were even spoken. Can you conceive the faith needed to exercise that kind of desire for connection? We are convicted of mercy by the Holy Spirit in order to connect with others, even when it doesn't serve us. When we show mercy, we give up our power. We give up our resources. We give up our time. And when we do that, we give away a part of ourselves when we show up and show mercy. Our culture preaches scarcity. Scarcity of time, resources, love, money, and hope. And if we were to take a snapshot of what we hear in the news, on social media, or even in a passing by conversation between two friends, we would hear how demanding our schedules are and that we are allotted a short amount of time in this world. And that is actually not untrue. We are limited beings, and every act of connection with another human being, and really all creation, takes up our own limited resources. But that is the call of discipleship. We are called to be part of living out miracles through an active faith. We are called, just like Jesus was called, to stop, to listen to the call of the Holy Spirit, and then show mercy. Hopefully, we live that call to show mercy in our faith life daily. But also, there is a unique place to discern how to show mercy, how to understand and become more in habit to practice that kind of connection, and that's here at All Saints. Because it's here at All Saints that we set the standard for what modern day mercy looks like in practice. The ways in which we connect, the ways in which we take time for one another and practice an evolving faith together help build our practice of faith and miracles that happen not just in here, in our community, but happen outside our premises, that happen outside these walls. So when it comes down to it, the only way that we can really expect miracles is actually through working together. Because working together involves the Holy Spirit, and working together fosters connection, and it convicts us of the need to love each other more deeply, both inside the church and outside. We shouldn't and can't sell ourselves short and live into the promise of this scarcity culture. God created us to run and to see and to hear and feel and experience life to the fullest. And this promise is often most realized in the bonds of Christian fellowship. Places like here. No matter the season of life you are in, your highs or your lows, invest in All Saints. Remember the vulnerability of Bartimaeus and open yourself up to experience the faith life made possible through the cords of mercy that are the bonds of wonderful, rich community.